Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Feargiveness community. I'm Julie Schindler. I started this community a year ago to help to have a place to showcase my feargiveness journey. And the feargiveness is the fear of forgiving myself. I realized at almost 40 um, that, well, really before that, that I had this trash can of trauma and insecurities that has been filling up my entire life. And when a box fell on my head 9 years ago and crushed my cervical spine, it left me permanently disabled, and I live horizontally from a pillow. The first 5 years were really dark. Lost in pain in my subconscious mind, lost in treatment after treatment, trying to find a way out of the pain, a fix for it all. And there was a moment where we were at the end of all medical possibilities on a medical standpoint for now. And that we knew that at that point that we could continue to seek out surgery after surgery with a hopefully of a miracle of some type of repair, but there was no there was no percentage, there was no chance given to us. There was a reconstructive surgery that we had really thought and in-depthly processed about 5 years ago, and there was a 0% chance of any recovery. They wouldn't give us anything. They knew that they would be going in to remove the hardware that's in there, to add more stability and fuse more levels together. Every level has been compromised of my spinal cord and my of all my vertebrae. We removed and replaced C5, 6, but the ones below and above, based on the hardwares and the screws, that we would have to have the entire everything taken out. And at that point, we have mobility. We lived horizontally, but we had a functional life that we've created in a new normal. And there were these very specific moments where we just had to say, we can continue to chase this. We can continue to chase whatever's new that's out there, or we can live with what we have in love and light. And it was those moments where 3 years ago, and that things started to shift and started to change. And wasn't until 2020 where I had been on palliative care for 2 years. I had had a heart attack in April of 2018. And through that decline of being on palliative care, that is where I started to really receive these pops of color. And they came in death. They came in the moments where I had to sign a DNR, a do not resuscitate order for my life. It was when I had to give away my power of attorney to my family because I could no longer care for myself. And it was in those moments after the heart attack. And we had a plan, and we had palliative care, and we had a team of a cardiologist and all of these specialists helping us. 2020 came, and I really had to face the choice. I'm losing my ability to chew and swallow. My pain meds are no longer working. I would have to be increased to a higher dose of something that was new in the market. And so that's where the deep dive into feargiveness happened. But in that year of palliative care, in those years of palliative care, these flashes of color and pops of color would come into my feargiveness journey. And it was really, I was living completely in fear of everything. And these pops of color connected me to my inner child and connected me to a promise that we made at 17 under the northern lights of Alaska, that everything that happened to us up until that moment, and we had just experienced a teen loss in pregnancy, everything up until that moment in our trash can, we didn't know how to fix. We weren't strong enough to do it. And we sealed off that trash can, and I promised her I would come back when I was strong enough. I didn't know it would take 20 years or so and a box falling on my head for me to really wake up and see that I have been holding on to a lifetime of trauma and insecurities in my own trash can. And we are now gifted time. That's all we had on our pillow was time. And if we weren't going to take the time to dig in, what else were we going to do? We had nothing else going on. And so the journey through getting off of palliative care and shifting and sifting through the clutter of our mind and releasing all of the things that were holding back this universal energy to recess. It's clearing away the clutter of palliative care and opiates. And then the next year we went on to alcohol because we used alcohol as the end resort after palliative care didn't work. Opiates weren't working, nothing would work. Alcohol would be our go-to. And so we took the year of 2021 to remove alcohol from our journey of pain and finding ways to really color pain. Because when you have to live in it, you have to color it. Then color holds vibration, color holds healing, color has a pathway through it that you can get you to the other side of love and light. And so this rainbow of color really began in meeting my inner child and releasing some of the things. The first moments together, we wrote the last letter to our father. And we haven't seen or spoken to our biological father since 2001. My daughter, the year our daughter was born, was the last time I saw my father physically or have spoken to him. And at that time, I was 25. I was an adult. And I wanted more for my family and for my children. And I wanted my children to have the experience of having grandparents in their life. And I was really hoping and had really high expectations. And that didn't happen. And life went on, and that's okay. We haven't had that connection, and my inner child needed to speak it out loud. And so she channeled all of her emotions into this letter. And it was the vividness of what she could recall opened up this pathway to a movie of my life that I had closed off when I closed off my trash can. And now we have been able to go back and meet every age of my inner child. And we're still working on it. We've gone through them once or twice, and they still have more work to do. And when so many people say, why do you go back? Well, I go back to reparent my inner child. I go back to be what they needed in that time and in that moment now, because I'm strong enough to do that. And every age needs something different. And as we learn about gestational trauma, my 1-year-old, my birth, she was born with club feet, and she spent her first few years in trauma and in braces and cast to straighten out her feet. And they're going back to those belly backpack moments of trauma that I brought into this world have allowed me to connect to the hearts that made me. And this Feargiveness journey is opening up the ability for me to forgive myself for holding on to the pain and the expectations that I had for those people, for my parents, for the roles that I had expected them to play within my life. And when you find forgiveness and you realize that those are my fears, those are my emotions that I own, and finding forgiveness in me, in myself, and for my inner child, for the amount of time that we've allowed our lives to carry on this grief, this pain, the loneliness, and hurt that came with abandonment, that came with divorce, that came with sexual trauma as a child, that came with bullying or body image in our teenage years, and how each of those moments affect the decisions that we made in our career, in our life, every decision we made up until this point, every mentor that we had, everything, every authority figure, everything comes back to our trash can. And the reason I go back is I want to upcycle, change the narrative, change the colors for that age, that child, that moment for me. So I can see that moment in a different light. I can see the gratitude in it of all the beautiful hearts that were there in those darkest moments. I can see that my parents are individual beings having a human experience. And the expectations that I had set for them were my own expectations, and that I can now see that their own gestational trauma, their own life story, their own trash can that brought them to be my parents are the story. That's the story that they're living, and I accept it. I accept them for who they are and the pathways that they have lived throughout their life. I open my heart to receive and to bring them back into this journey so I can offer forgiveness. And that is the fear of forgiving myself, but also it extends that energy. I'm boomeranging that energy that I release you. I understand your path and I unconditionally love you for the human being that you are, for the fact that you brought me into this world and that you gave me life. And we may have not seen or walked our paths together. I see you. I see your path. I see your pain. I see your struggle. And I understand. I can hold space for you. And I forgive you for not being what I needed in those times in my life. We forgive you for not being what our inner child needed. We forgive you for the loneliness. We forgive you for the times that you were not strong enough to be the parent that we needed you to be in our lives, in that moment, in that time. That we are okay, and that our story, the one that we are creating now, has you in it. And you are love and light because you brought us into this world and you gave us a chance at life. You gave us the chance to go through the darkness and to color in the rainbows. And you gave me the chance to be a mom and to do things differently for my children and for the future of all of us, for our children, and to teach others how to go back, and that it's okay to go back with guidance, and it's okay to go back to find gratitude, and it's okay to go back to heal. And you have to go back before you really can move forward and move through it all, because you don't stay stuck there when you're on a forgiveness journey. You are there to be a student of, to understand the conditioning that was given at that time, and to offer kindness. Oh, I'm liking my suck. It's getting better. So I only say I suck when I really suck at something and I want to learn and I want to be better at it and I want to improve. And I suck at grief, and I sucked at forgiveness for a really long time. And this journey is showing me that through forgiveness and forgiving myself, that I can go back and reparent and show love to my inner child. And I also can do the same for all of the hearts that made me. And as I sit here in my story time corner, we took our story time for Florentina and friends outside today. I want to show you what my inner child and I are playing in. And this is just a bucket of love full of water beads and rainbows. And it had a whole bunch of crystals in it. And we pulled, oh, there's a crystal. We pulled crystals out. And crystals hold energy as well. So we've been able to put our hands in, connect with our inner child, have sensory play, move the emotions around, flow it through us, and find new ways to color in our world. And this journey is so fun. I just can't even explain to you how cool it is to sit with my inner child and to have these moments of play and of connection, of rebirth, of awakening, of spiritual awakenings, and having it be full of so much color. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through my inner child. We have a lot more to explore and play, and we have a whole rainbow of friends from our inner child to come help us out. So we are going to play, expand, flow, and see what glow and forgiveness we can find within. So I filled a cup full of love from my inner child and I, and it is overflowing with love and light for you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Don't forget to dip your fingers and toes in some fun. Finally, understanding nothing.